Most people assume that owning an airport is like owning a money printing machine. After all, millions of passengers pass through America's busiest airports every day. Airlines pay to use the runways, and planes never seem to stop arriving. It sounds like an incredibly profitable business, but that assumption misses the real story. In the United States, most major airports are publicly owned, operate under strict financial rules, and cannot simply hand profits to shareholders like a private company. So why do cities, governments, and even private investors continue committing billions of dollars to these enormous assets? The answer lies in an economic model that extends far beyond airplanes and ticket sales. Airports are not just transportation hubs. They are complex infrastructure businesses, real estate platforms, and engines of regional growth. And once you look beyond the runway, the economics become far more surprising. Airports create far more value than simply moving people from one city to another. Every flight that lands or departs connects businesses, workers, tourists, and supply chains that fuel an entire regional economy. A busy airport attracts hotels, convention centers, warehouses, corporate offices, manufacturers, and logistics companies that want fast access to customers and global markets. That is why cities willingly invest billions of dollars in airport expansion, even when the airport itself is not generating massive profits. Economists call this the multiplier effect. One airport job supports many others across restaurants, retail, transportation, tourism, and construction. Airports also make regions more attractive for investment because companies value reliable connections for employees, clients, and freight. Cities like Atlanta, Orlando, and Las Vegas have all used their airports to strengthen tourism, attract businesses, and support long-term economic growth. The airport's greatest return often appears beyond its own balance sheet, creating opportunities throughout the surrounding economy. Understanding that broader impact explains why airports are treated as strategic national infrastructure rather than simple. Owning an airport means controlling far more than a runway. Owners manage terminals, taxiways, parking garages, cargo facilities, maintenance hangars, retail space, hotels, utility systems, and thousands of acres of surrounding land. Each asset serves a different purpose, but together they create an interconnected business ecosystem. Airlines lease gates, retailers rent storefronts, logistics companies occupy warehouses, and parking operators generate steady cash flow. Financing this infrastructure usually depends on municipal bonds, which allow airports to borrow billions and repay the debt over decades. That approach spreads costs across future users instead of today's taxpayers. Projects like Denver International Airport's expansion and Salt Lake City's redevelopment illustrate how airport ownership requires constant capital allocation, careful asset management, balancing immediate operational needs with investments that may take decades to deliver full returns. In many ways, managing an airport resembles governing a small city, where every decision affects airlines, passengers, businesses, employees, and local communities. Owning the infrastructure is only the beginning. The real challenge is paying for it while keeping the entire ecosystem competitive, efficient, resilient, and prepared for future growth sustainably. Building and operating an airport ranks among the most expensive infrastructure investments any city or authority can undertake. Before the first passenger ever checks in, billions of dollars may already be committed to purchasing land, constructing runways, paving taxiways, building terminals, installing security systems, laying utilities, and acquiring specialized maintenance equipment. Even after opening, the spending rarely stops. Runways must be resurfaced, terminals modernized, technology upgraded, and safety standards continuously improved to meet changing regulations and passenger expectations. Unlike many businesses that can expand gradually, airports must often build for future demand years before that demand actually arrives. That means borrowing enormous sums through long-term debt and hoping decades of passenger growth eventually justify today's investment. Economists describe these expenses as capital expenditures, or CapEx, because they create assets expected to last for many years. Those assets slowly lose value through depreciation while still requiring constant maintenance throughout their life cycle. Projects such as the modernization of Los Angeles International Airport, the redevelopment of John F. Kennedy International Airport, and Denver's famously troubled automated baggage system demonstrate how costs can escalate far beyond original estimates. Airport ownership is therefore a long game, where patience, financing, and disciplined planning matter just as much as engineering. After investing billions, where does the money finally start coming back? The answer surprises almost everyone eventually. Most people assume airlines are the primary source of airport income. In reality, airport revenue comes from a carefully balanced mix of aviation and non-aviation sources. Airlines pay landing fees based on aircraft size and weight, lease gates and terminal space, sign long-term operating agreements, and purchase services that keep flights moving. Passengers also contribute through federally approved passenger facility charges, while fuel providers and other aviation businesses pay concession or access fees. However, these traditional aviation revenues rarely tell the complete financial story. Many airports deliberately diversify their income because airline traffic can fluctuate with recessions, fuel prices, or unexpected events. Long-term contracts provide stability, allowing airports to plan investments decades into the future. Larger airports such as Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, Charlotte Douglas International, and Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport illustrate this approach. Their revenue models spread financial risk across multiple customers instead of relying solely on airlines. That diversification makes airports more resilient, but it also reveals an important insight. The businesses passengers notice most are not always the businesses generating the greatest value. Aviation operations may attract the headlines, yet they often represent only one piece of a much larger economic system. Understanding that distinction is essential because next layer of airport economics is surprising, but here's where everything changes. The most profitable parts aren't aviation at all. The biggest surprise in airport economics is that airplanes are often not the most profitable part of the business. Many airports earn more from the activity surrounding passengers than from the flights themselves. Parking garages generate reliable income because travelers willingly pay for convenience, especially during longer trips. Restaurants, coffee shops, luxury retailers, and duty-free stores lease valuable space, often sharing a percentage of their sales with the airport. Rental car companies, advertising displays, and airport hotels add even more steady revenue. Beyond the terminal, the business becomes even larger. Cargo warehouses, logistics parks, and distribution centers transform airports into essential links in global supply chains. Memphis has grown into one of the world's busiest cargo hubs, while Miami International Airport benefits from high-value international freight. Dallas-Fort Worth has expanded commercial developments around its vast property, creating opportunities that extend far beyond aviation. Some airports are also investing in solar farms, office complexes, and even data centers, turning underused land into long-term income-producing assets. This shift reflects a broader strategy of treating airports as commercial real estate platforms rather than simple transportation facilities. The runway may attract passengers, but the surrounding ecosystem increasingly drives financial performance. These revenue streams sound impressive until the risks begin to appear. Because when travel slows, every one of those businesses feels the pressure too. Airports may look like stable businesses, but their finances can change fast. Unlike retailers or manufacturers that can quickly cut production during a downturn, airports carry enormous fixed costs regardless of how many passengers arrive. Runways, terminals, security systems, utilities, and maintenance must continue operating whether flights are full or nearly empty. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed this vulnerability dramatically. Passenger traffic collapsed, airlines grounded fleets, and airport revenues fell while operating expenses continued. Some airports relied on emergency government support, while others delayed expansion projects and increased borrowing. Airline bankruptcies can create similar problems by eliminating routes and reducing lease income. Rising interest rates make future borrowing more expensive, while environmental regulations, climate resilience investments, labor shortages, and cybersecurity threats add new financial pressures. Operational leverage explains why these risks matter. Because airports invest heavily in long-term infrastructure, even small declines in passenger demand can have outsized financial consequences. Political decisions can also reshape airport economics through funding priorities, security rules, noise restrictions, or environmental approvals. Success, therefore, depends not only on attracting travelers, but also on surviving events that owners cannot control. Some airports adapted by diversifying revenue and strengthening their balance sheets. Others entered prolonged financial stress, proving that resilience matters as much as growth. Some airports recovered stronger than ever, while others are still struggling years later. The difference between a successful airport and a struggling one is rarely its size. More often, it is the quality of its long-term strategy. Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport has expanded beyond passenger traffic by investing in cargo, commercial development, and diversified revenue sources. Its central location and strong airline partnerships created powerful network effects, making the airport increasingly valuable as more routes and businesses connected through it. By contrast, airports such as St. Louis Lambert and Pittsburgh faced major challenges after losing their dominant airline hubs. Passenger numbers fell, businesses left, and revenue declined. Both airports adapted over time, but their experiences showed how heavily, depending on a single airline, can reshape an airport's future almost overnight. The lesson is clear. Winning airports do not simply react to growth. They prepare for change before it arrives. They invest patiently, diversify income, and treat surrounding land as a strategic asset instead of unused space. In airport ownership, resilience often matters more than scale, and that raises an even bigger question. How will tomorrow's airports evolve in a rapidly changing world ahead?